Charlotte slammed the door behind her, her heart pounding like a war drum as she leaned against it, eyes wide with terror. The letter from her father lay crumpled on the floor, its words burning into her mind. "We know about Abigail. Come home now or don't come back at all." She hadn't expected the confrontation to come so soon. But there it was, raw and unforgiving, ripping through the fragile peace she'd built in her small apartment in Seattle. Abigail stirred from the couch, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Char? What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." Her voice was soft, laced with concern, the kind that always made Charlotte feel anchored in a stormy sea. But tonight, that anchor felt like it was dragging them both under. Charlotte crossed the room in 3 strides, dropping to her knees beside Abigail. "They know, Abby. My parents, they found out about us." The words tumbled out, each one a confession she'd dreaded for years. Abigail's face paled, her hand reaching out to grasp Charlotte's, their fingers intertwining like they always did in moments of crisis. But this crisis was different. It wasn't just a late-night argument or a bad day at work. This was the collision of worlds Charlotte had kept separate for so long. Her devout, traditional family in rural Texas and the life she'd carved out here with the woman she loved. Growing up in a small town where church bells rang louder than any progressive voice, Charlotte had learned early to hide parts of herself. Her father, a stern rancher who quoted Bible verses like law, had raised her with ironclad expectations. Marry a good man, raise a family, uphold the values that had sustained generations. But Charlotte's heart had never bent to those rules. At college in Austin, she'd met Abigail, a fiery journalism major with a laugh that could light up the darkest room. Their friendship had blossomed into something deeper, something Charlotte couldn't deny, no matter how much guilt twisted in her gut. Now at 28, Charlotte worked as a graphic designer in Seattle, far from the dusty plains of home. Abigail, 30, was a reporter for a local news outlet, chasing stories of injustice with the same passion she brought to their relationship. They'd built a life together, quiet dinners, weekend hikes in the Cascades, stolen kisses under the city lights. But the shadow of Charlotte's family loomed large, a constant whisper in her mind. What if they find out? What then? The letter had arrived that morning, forwarded from her old address. Her brother must have snooped, or perhaps a nosy neighbor had seen them together during a rare visit. It didn't matter how, the damage was done. "They're demanding I come back," Charlotte whispered, her voice breaking. "To fix this. They think it's a phase, Abby. Or worse, a sin." Abigail pulled her closer, her embrace a fortress against the oncoming storm. "We'll face it together. You're not alone in this." But even as she said it, doubt flickered in her eyes. Abigail came from a more accepting family in California, where love was love, no questions asked. She didn't fully grasp the depth of Charlotte's internal war. The nights Charlotte lay awake, torn between her love for Abigail and the fear of losing her roots. That night, as they lay in bed, Charlotte's mind raced through scenarios. What if she ignored the letter? Would her father cut her off completely? He'd always been the pillar of her life, teaching her to ride horses, to stand tall against adversity. But this adversity was her truth, and it clashed with his world like thunder against a clear sky. She remembered the last family gathering, how she'd dodged questions about boyfriends, how her mother's knowing glances had made her stomach churn. By morning, Charlotte had made a decision, or at least the beginnings of one. "I'm going back," she told Abigail over coffee. "I have to confront this head-on. If I run, it'll eat me alive." Abigail nodded, though her grip on the mug tightened. "Then I'm coming with you. We're in this together, remember?" The flight to Texas was a blur of turbulence, both external and internal. Charlotte's thoughts swirled. How would she explain Abigail? As a friend? A roommate? The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. Landing in Dallas, the heat hit them like a wall, a stark contrast to Seattle's cool drizzle. They rented a car and drove the long hours to the ranch, the landscape shifting from urban sprawl to endless fields dotted with cattle. As they pulled up the gravel driveway, Charlotte's father stood on the porch, arms crossed, his weathered face etched with disapproval. Her mother hovered behind him, wringing her hands. No warm welcome, no hugs. Just silence, heavy and accusing. "Dad," Charlotte started, stepping out of the car. "We need to talk." He glanced at Abigail, his eyes narrowing. "Who's this?" Abigail extended her hand. Abigail Rivera, sir. Charlotte's partner, Charlotte interjected, her voice steadier than she felt. She's my partner, Dad. I love her. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Her father's jaw clenched, and for a moment Charlotte thought he might explode. Instead, he turned and walked inside, the screen door slamming behind him. Her mother followed, casting a sorrowful look over her shoulder. Inside the house, the air was thick with tension. They sat at the kitchen table, the same one where Charlotte had eaten countless meals as a child. Her father stared at her, his voice low and gravelly. "This ain't right, Charlotte. The Bible says." "I know what it says," she cut in, her heart aching. "But this is who I am. I can't change it." Her mother spoke up, tears in her eyes. "We love you, honey. But it's against everything we believe. Think about your soul." Abigail sat quietly, her presence a silent support, but Charlotte could see the strain on her face. This wasn't just about family. It was about identity, faith, and the chasm between them. As the argument escalated, voices rising like a gathering storm, Charlotte felt the weight of her choices pressing down. Her father laid down the ultimatum: end it with Abigail or be cut out of the family. No inheritance, no contact, nothing. "Choose," he said. "God or this abomination." Charlotte's mind screamed in protest. How could love be an abomination? But the doubt crept in. What if he was right? What if she was damning herself? The internal conflict raged, a battle between heart and heritage. That night in the guest room, Abigail held her as she cried. "We can leave," Abigail whispered. "You don't have to do this." But Charlotte knew she did. Running wouldn't solve anything. It would only deepen the wound. Tomorrow she'd have to decide, and whatever path she chose, it would cost her dearly. The next morning dawned bright and unforgiving, the Texas sun casting long shadows across the ranch. Charlotte woke with a headache, the remnants of a sleepless night where her mind had replayed every harsh word from the dinner table. Abigail was already up, staring out the window at the grazing horses, her posture rigid with unspoken worry. "We should talk to them again," Charlotte said, pulling on her jeans. "Maybe if I explain how happy you make me." Abigail turned, her eyes searching Charlotte's face. "Do you think that'll change anything? Your dad looked at me like I was the devil incarnate." Charlotte winced. It was true. The disdain in her father's gaze had cut deep. But she couldn't give up, not yet. They headed downstairs to find her parents in the kitchen, coffee brewing, the air still charged from last night's confrontation. "Mom, Dad," Charlotte began, her voice tentative. "Can we sit down? I want you to understand." Her father grunted, pouring himself a cup. "Ain't nothing to understand. You've been led astray." Abigail spoke up, her journalist poise kicking in. "Mr. Hayes, with all due respect, love isn't something you choose. It's who we are." He slammed his mug down, coffee sloshing over the rim. "Don't you lecture me in my own house. This is unnatural. The town will talk. Our church will shun us. You think about that." Charlotte's mother placed a hand on his arm. "John, please. She's our daughter." But the damage was escalating. Charlotte felt the pressure building. The societal expectations her family embodied crashing against her personal truth. In this small town where everyone knew everyone's business, coming out meant more than family disapproval. It meant isolation, whispers at the grocery store, judgment from lifelong friends. As the day wore on, Charlotte took Abigail on a walk around the ranch, showing her the places of her childhood. The old barn where she'd hidden to read forbidden books, the creek where she dreamed of a bigger world. "This is where I grew up," Charlotte said, her voice soft. "But it's not who I am anymore." Abigail squeezed her hand. "You don't have to lose it all. Maybe they'll come around." But doubt gnawed at Charlotte. Back at the house, her brother Mark arrived unannounced. Younger by 2 years, he'd always been the golden child, straight-laced and devout. "Heard you brought trouble home," he said, eyeing Abigail with suspicion. "It's not trouble," Charlotte retorted. "It's my life." Mark shook his head. "Dad's right. This'll destroy the family. Think about Mom. She's heartbroken." The word stung, fueling Charlotte's internal turmoil. Was she being selfish? Sacrificing her family's peace for her happiness? The moral dilemma twisted like a knife. Loyalty to blood versus authenticity to self. That evening, the family gathered for what felt like a trial. Her father laid out terms. If Charlotte ended things with Abigail, she'd be welcomed back, perhaps even helped with a proper life. Therapy, church counseling, the works. We can fix this, he insisted. Abigail, sensing the shift, pulled Charlotte aside. Don't let them manipulate you. This is emotional blackmail. But Charlotte's resolve wavered. The pressure from her family, the fear of eternal damnation drummed into her from Sunday school, clashed with the love she felt for Abigail. In her mind, scenarios played out. A life without Abigail, conforming to expectations, marrying some man from church, having kids. It all felt like a prison. Yet, losing her family meant orphaning herself from her past. As night fell, Charlotte made a call to an old friend from college, someone who'd navigated similar waters. It's hell, the friend said. But you have to choose you. Inspired, Charlotte confronted her father alone in his study. Dad, I love you. But I love Abigail too. Can't you see that? He looked at her, eyes weary. Love? This ain't love. It's confusion. And it'll cost you everything. The words echoed in her soul, a harbinger of the betrayals to come. Little did she know, Mark had been listening, plotting his own intervention. The next day brought escalation. Mark invited the local pastor over, turning the house into a makeshift intervention. The pastor, a kindly but firm man, quoted scriptures, urging Charlotte to repent. Abigail sat through it, her face a mask of restraint, but inside she seethed. This isn't help, she whispered to Charlotte. It's coercion. Charlotte's heart tore. The societal define of normal pressed down, making her question her choices. Was her love worth this pain? The internal conflict peaked as she saw her mother's tears, her father's stoic anger. By afternoon, Abigail suggested they leave. We can't win here. Let's go back to Seattle. But Charlotte hesitated. If I leave now, it's over with them forever. Abigail's eyes filled with hurt. And if you stay? What about us? The mouth Wandau Duck loomed large. Betray her family or betray her heart? Charlotte chose to stay a bit longer, hoping for a miracle. But that decision planted seeds of resentment in Abigail, who felt like an outsider in this battle. As days blurred, small acts of kindness from her mother, a shared meal, a quiet conversation, chipped at Charlotte's defenses. I just want you happy, her mom said. But is this really happiness? Charlotte pondered that, her mind a whirlwind of doubt. Meanwhile, Abigail grew distant, spending time alone, questioning if Charlotte's love was strong enough to withstand this. The turning point came when Mark confronted Abigail privately. You're ruining her life, he accused. Leave and let her heal. Abigail stood her ground. I love her more than you know. But the seed was planted. That night, Abigail packed a bag. I can't watch you destroy yourself for them, she told Charlotte. Call me when you're ready to fight for us. Charlotte watched her drive away, heart-shattering. The cost of her indecision was clear. She'd pushed away the one person who truly understood her. Alone now, Charlotte faced her family, the weight of her choices crushing her. But deep down, anger brewed. At the society that forced such divisions, at the prejudices that turned love into war. With Abigail gone, the ranch felt like a tomb, echoing with the ghosts of what could have been. Charlotte wandered the fields, her mind a storm of regret and self-doubt. Why hadn't she fought harder? The internal conflict raged. Had she betrayed Abigail by hesitating? Or was she honoring her family by trying to bridge the gap? Her father noticed the change, mistaking it for progress. Good riddance, he muttered over breakfast. Now we can get you back on track. But Charlotte's heart rebelled. It wasn't her fault, Dad. It's me, who I am. He waved it off. Nonsense. We'll talk to the pastor more. He'll help. The sessions began, weekly meetings where the pastor probed her confusion, suggesting prayer and reflection. Charlotte went along, but each word felt like a chain tightening around her soul. Societal pressures amplified the torment. News stories of anti-LGBT legislation in Texas reminded her of the broader fight, the prejudices that made her love a battleground. Back in Seattle, Abigail threw herself into work, covering stories of marginalized communities. But at night, she replayed their last conversation, questioning if Charlotte's love was conditional. Was I just a phase? She wondered, the pain of potential betrayal cutting deep. Charlotte's mother, sensing her daughter's anguish, tried to mediate. Your father means well, she said during a quiet moment in the garden. He's scared for you. I'm scared too, Mom. Scared of losing myself. For the first time, Charlotte opened up about her feelings, the butterflies when she first kissed Abigail, the sense of wholeness in her arms. Her mother listened, tears streaming, but the divide remained. Word spread in town. Whispers at church, stares at the feed store. Hayes' daughter gone astray, they said. The social isolation hit hard, reinforcing Charlotte's fears. Was this the price of authenticity? The moral quandary deepened. Conform and regain community, or rebel and face exile? A call from Abigail shattered the fragile calm. I miss you, she said, voice breaking. But I can't be your secret anymore. I know, Charlotte replied. I'm trying to make them see. But trying wasn't enough. Mark, ever the opportunist, arranged a blind date with a nice boy from church. Give it a chance, he urged. Charlotte refused, but the pressure mounted, her internal voices clashing. Duty versus desire. In a moment of desperation, Charlotte drove to Austin, seeking solace in old haunts. There, she met a support group for LGBTQ individuals from conservative backgrounds. Hearing their stories of disownment, reconciliation, heartbreak, mirrored her own. You have to choose your family, one woman said. Sometimes it's the one you build. Inspired, Charlotte returned home with renewed fire. I'm not changing, she told her parents. Accept me or lose me. Her father exploded. Then leave. We don't need this poison here. The ultimatum backfired, pushing Charlotte toward a breaking point. She packed her things, heart heavy with the cost. But before leaving, she confronted Mark. Why can't you support me? Because it's wrong, he spat. And it'll ruin our name. The betrayal from her brother stung deepest, a sibling bond fractured by prejudice. Driving away, Charlotte called Abigail. I'm coming home. To you. But Abigail's response was guarded. Things have changed, Char. I need time. The words hit like a punch. Had her indecision cost her everything? The drive to Seattle was a blur of tears and reflection. The societal chains she broken, leaving scars. Arriving at their apartment, Charlotte found it empty. A note. Gone to stay with friends. Let's talk soon. Panic set in. Had Abigail moved on? The thought of loss fueled Charlotte's determination. She reached out to mutual friends, piecing together Abigail's pain, the feelings of being secondary to family approval. Meanwhile, Abigail grappled with her own demons. Covering a story on a hate crime against a lesbian couple, she saw the real dangers of societal hate. It made her miss Charlotte's strength, but resentment lingered. She chose them over me, she confided to a friend. The reunion came unexpectedly. Charlotte showed up at Abigail's work, flowers in hand. I was wrong to hesitate. You're my everything. Abigail's eyes softened, but caution remained. Prove it. Cut ties if you have to. The demand forced Charlotte to confront the ultimate sacrifice. Back home, she wrote a letter to her family. I love you, but I can't live a lie. If you can't accept me, then goodbye. Sending it felt like severing a limb, the pain raw and immediate. But it was necessary, the price of freedom. As weeks passed, Charlotte and Abigail rebuilt tentatively. Dates, talks, rediscovering each other. But shadows loomed. Charlotte's job suffered from her distraction, and Abigail's trust was fragile. A call from her mother brought new turmoil. Your father's had a heart scare. Come home. The moral dilemma resurfaced. Duty to family in crisis versus protecting her heart. Charlotte agonized, her mind torn between compassion and self-preservation. I have to go, she told Abigail. But this time on my terms. Abigail nodded, hiding her fear. Don't let them pull you back in. At the hospital, Charlotte faced her father, frail in the bed. Dad, she whispered. He looked at her, eyes misty. Why'd you leave? Because you made me choose. Silence stretched, a chasm of unspoken regrets. Her mother pulled her aside. He's rethinking things. Give him time. But time was a luxury. Mark, ever antagonistic, accused her of causing the stress. Your lifestyle did this. The accusation ignited fury. No, your hate did. The confrontation escalated, voices echoing in the hall. Charlotte stood her ground, defending her love, her identity. For the first time she felt unburdened, the internal chains breaking. Leaving the hospital, she called Abigail. It's over. I'm done trying to please them. But the cost was evident. Family fractured, heart scarred. The societal battle continued, but Charlotte emerged stronger, ready for the next wave. Back in Seattle, the air felt lighter, but the wounds festered. Charlotte threw herself into therapy, unpacking years of internalized shame. I betrayed myself, she admitted to the counselor. And in turn I hurt Abigail. Abigail, too, sought solace, journaling her fears of abandonment. Their relationship, once seamless, now bore cracks, moments of tension where old hurt surfaced. A simple disagreement over dinner escalated. You always put them first, Abigail shouted. I didn't. I chose you, Charlotte countered, but doubt lingered. The mending was slow, laced with honest conversations. I was scared, Charlotte confessed one night, of losing everything. I get that, Abigail replied. But fear almost cost us. As they navigated this, external pressures mounted. Abigail's latest story exposed discrimination in workplaces, hitting close to home when Charlotte faced subtle bias at her design firm. A colleague's offhand comment, "You don't seem like the type," stung, reminding her of the pervasive societal judgments. Then came the betrayal that shook them. Charlotte's mother called, pleading for reconciliation. Your father wants to talk. No judgments. Tempted, Charlotte agreed to a video call. But Mark hijacked it, spewing vitriol. You're delusional. Come back and get help, or stay away forever. The call ended in tears, Charlotte feeling manipulated. They used Mom to lure me in, she told Abigail. Abigail's response was sharp. And you fell for it. When will you learn? The argument peaked, Abigail storming out. Alone, Charlotte questioned her decisions. Was reconciliation worth the repeated pain? The ethical tightrope, forgiveness versus boundaries, tested her resolve. Days later, Abigail returned apologetic. I'm scared you'll go back. I won't, Charlotte promised. But promises felt fragile. A turning point arrived via an unexpected ally. Charlotte's cousin Emily reached out. Out herself, she'd been silent before but now offered support. Family isn't just blood. It's who stands by you. Inspired, Charlotte organized a small gathering with accepting friends, a makeshift family. Abigail shone there, her laughter a balm. But beneath, resentment simmered. Abigail felt like she paid the price for Charlotte's family drama. The high drama unfolded when Charlotte received news. Her father disowned her officially, rewriting the will. Mark inherited everything. The blow was financial and emotional, a final rejection. Rage boiled. After all I've done to please them? Charlotte vented to Abigail. It's their loss, Abigail said, but her tone held exhaustion. In a moment of vulnerability, Abigail confessed. I almost left for good. A friend offered a shoulder. More than that. The revelation hit Charlotte like thunder. You. What? Nothing happened. But I was tempted. Because I felt alone in this. The near betrayal cracked Charlotte's world. Trust shattered, she withdrew, mind reeling with hypotheticals. Had her indecision pushed Abigail away? The moral complexity deepened. Who was at fault in this web of pain? They separated temporarily, Charlotte crashing with a friend. The solitude forced introspection, the costs tallied. Lost family, strained love, self-doubt. But also gains. Authenticity, resilience. Abigail, meanwhile, reflected on her role. I pushed too hard, she admitted in therapy. But love shouldn't be a battlefield. Reunion came via a heartfelt letter from Charlotte. I choose you every day. Forgive my weaknesses. They met at their favorite park, tears flowing. We both messed up, Abigail said. But we're worth fighting for. Rebuilding intensified with couples counseling. They addressed the societal undercurrents, the prejudices that amplified their struggles, the need for allies. But fate twisted again. Abigail's job offered a promotion in New York. It's a chance to cover bigger stories, she said. But it means moving. Charlotte froze. Uproot again? The decision loomed, a test of their bond. What about us? She asked. We go together, Abigail replied. If you want. The choice was laden with sacrifice, leaving Seattle's comfort for uncertainty. Charlotte agonized. Stability versus growth? The internal debate echoed past conflicts. Accepting, they packed, the move symbolizing a fresh start. But en route, a call from Charlotte's mother. Your father's sorry. He wants to meet halfway. Temptation surged. Maybe one last try, Charlotte mused. Abigail tensed. Don't. It'll drag us back. The disagreement flared, highlighting lingering issues. At a rest stop, they argued fiercely. You're still chained to them, Abigail accused. And you're asking me to erase my past, Charlotte shot back. In the heat, Abigail uttered the unthinkable. Maybe we need a break. Heartbroken, Charlotte agreed. They parted in Chicago, Abigail continuing east, Charlotte turning back west. Alone, Charlotte confronted her truths. The prices paid. Family lost, love strained, self-forged in fire. Was it worth it? Months passed in solitude. Charlotte thrived professionally, designing campaigns for LGBTQ rights. But emptiness persisted. Then a surprise. Abigail at her door. I was wrong. New York means nothing without you. Reconciliation was tentative, built on lessons learned. They vowed transparency, no more secrets. But the drama wasn't over. News arrived, Charlotte's father passed suddenly. The funeral beckoned, a final crossroads. I have to go, Charlotte said. Abigail nodded. Together. At the service, tensions peaked. Mark glared, but her mother embraced her. He regretted it all, she whispered. In the aftermath, Charlotte found closure, inheriting not land but peace. The funeral unfolded under a gray Texas sky, the air thick with unspoken regrets. Charlotte stood by the grave, Abigail at her side, a united front against the stares of relatives. Mark approached, his face a mask of resentment. You shouldn't be here. Not with her. Charlotte met his gaze steadily. This is who I am. Deal with it. Her mother intervened, pulling her into a hug. I'm glad you came. Your father. He talked about you often at the end. Wish things were different. The words offered a sliver of solace, but the damage lingered. The years of rejection, the moral battles fought in silence. Charlotte pondered the whats. What if she'd conformed? Would happiness have followed? Or just a hollow existence? Back in Seattle, life resumed with newfound clarity. Charlotte and Abigail cohabited again. Their bond tempered by trials. They advocated together, speaking at events about overcoming family prejudice, turning personal pain into communal healing. Yet scars remained. Charlotte's dreams haunted her, visions of her father's disapproval, Abigail's near departure. The societal backdrop amplified it all. Ongoing debates over rights, stories of others facing similar strife. One evening over wine, Abigail reflected. We paid dearly, but look at us now, stronger. Charlotte nodded, but doubt whispered. At what cost? The ethical quandaries persisted. Had her choices been right or selfish? As they built their future, small joys emerged. Adopting a dog, planning trips, dreaming of marriage in a more accepting world. But the drama of their past shadowed, a reminder of fragility. A final twist came via a letter from Mark. I'm sorry. Let's talk. Charlotte debated, the pull of reconciliation strong. What do you think? She asked Abigail. It's your call. But remember the hurt. She chose dialogue, a cautious lunch in neutral territory. Mark, softened by loss, admitted faults. I was wrong. Fear drove me. The admission sparked hope, but trust rebuilt slowly. Family ties mended partially, a fragile bridge over the chasm. Through it all, Charlotte's internal evolution shone. From conflicted daughter to empowered woman, the journey's toll evident in her wiser eyes. Abigail, too, transformed, more patient, understanding the complexities of heritage. Their story, rich with confrontations and awakenings, exemplified the human cost of love in a divided society. In the end, as they watched the sunset from their balcony, Charlotte whispered, Was it all worth it? Abigail smiled. Every scar. But the question lingered, inviting reflection. In the face of societal prejudice and family ultimatums, Is sacrificing blood ties for personal truth always the righteous path? Or does it sometimes border on selfish abandonment? The funeral unfolded under a gray Texas sky, the air thick with unspoken regrets and the faint scent of fresh earth. Charlotte stood by the grave, her hand clasped tightly in Abigail's, a silent declaration amid the murmurs of relatives. The service was brief, hymns echoing the faith that had once bound her family but now felt like a distant echo. Mark stood across from her, his eyes avoiding hers, shoulders hunched under the weight of recent events. Afterward, as mourners dispersed, Mark approached hesitantly. "Charlotte," he said, voice gruff, "didn't expect you." "I had to come," she replied, steady despite the turmoil inside. "For him. For us." He glanced at Abigail, discomfort evident. "Yeah. Well, the will's clear. Everything to me." The jab stung, but Charlotte refused to rise. "It's not about the money, Mark. It's about family." He snorted. "Family? You walked away." "No," she countered, voice rising. "You pushed me out." Their mother intervened, her face lined with grief. "Enough. Not here." Later at the house, tension simmered. Relatives offered condolences laced with judgment, subtle questions about Charlotte's lifestyle, pitying looks toward Abigail. The societal undercurrents were palpable, a reminder that acceptance was conditional in this world. That night in a motel, Charlotte broke down. "Why does it still hurt so much?" Abigail held her. "Because love doesn't vanish. But neither does our truth." The drive back to Seattle was reflective, miles blurring as Charlotte processed. The moral trade-offs haunted her. Forgiving Mark's betrayal versus holding grudges? Rebuilding family or protecting her peace? Arriving home, normalcy beckoned but change brewed. Charlotte volunteered at a LGBTQ center, channeling pain into purpose. Abigail's stories gained depth, infused with personal insight. Yet cracks appeared. A heated discussion over future plans, kids' marriage revealed lingering fears. "What if our child faces what I did?" Charlotte worried. "We'll fight for a better world," Abigail assured. Mark's letter arrived weeks later. "Dad's death made me think. I was wrong about a lot. Can we talk?" Charlotte agonized. The potential for healing clashed with past wounds. "It could be a trap," Abigail cautioned. "Or a chance," Charlotte mused. They met in Dallas, neutral ground. Mark arrived alone, looking vulnerable. "I projected my fears onto you," he admitted. "The church, the town, it all pressured me." Charlotte listened, empathy stirring. "It hurt, Mark. Deeply." "I know. I'm trying to change." The conversation flowed, tentative bridges forming. No instant forgiveness, but a start. Back with Abigail, Charlotte shared. "It felt good. Hopeful." Abigail smiled, though wary. "As long as it doesn't cost us." Their relationship deepened, intimacy rebuilt through shared vulnerabilities. They attended pride events, finding community amid isolation. But the broader drama persisted. News of setbacks in rights, personal stories mirroring theirs. Charlotte reflected on the prices. Emotional scars, lost time but gained freedom. In quiet moments she questioned. Did the ends justify the means? The awakenings, her own, perhaps her family's, came at high cost. As seasons changed, their life stabilized. Engaged now, planning a simple wedding surrounded by chosen family. The story's arc, from shock to resolution, highlighted the human spirit's resilience amid societal storms. Yet, it ends not with certainty but inquiry. In pursuing authentic love against familial and societal opposition, is the inevitable pain and division a necessary evil for personal growth, or does it ultimately perpetuate cycles of hurt that could be avoided through compromise?